3 months ago, Margaret was a strong, independent woman who ran her own bakery for 30 years. Then the stroke hit. One moment she was decorating a wedding cake. The next she woke up in a hospital bed, unable to move her left side. Her son David rushed to her bedside. "Mom, don't worry about anything. Jessica and I will take care of you." Margaret believed him. She trusted him. After all, he was her baby boy, the child she raised alone after her husband died in a car crash when David was just 5 years old. But Jessica had other plans. "David, we can't have her living with us," Jessica whispered outside Margaret's hospital room, thinking the old woman couldn't hear. "She'll ruin everything. Our perfect life, our dinner parties, our image." Margaret's heart broke, but she stayed quiet. Maybe she heard wrong. Maybe her son would stand up for her. He didn't. When Margaret moved into their guest room, Jessica's mask came off completely. She would roll her eyes when Margaret struggled to walk. She would sigh loudly when Margaret needed help reaching something. She would make comments about dead weight and charity cases. But the worst part, David pretended not to notice. Margaret started eating dinner alone. Jessica claimed there wasn't enough room at their fancy dining table for a wheelchair. Margaret had to ask for everything: food, water, even toilet paper. Jessica made sure she felt like a burden every single time. "I'm sorry," Margaret would whisper every time she needed help. "Yes, you are," Jessica would reply with a cold smile. 3 weeks into living there, Margaret overheard Jessica on the phone with her mother. "She's like a broken toy that won't stop making noise. I can't wait until David comes to his senses and puts her in a home. This house is for successful people, not invalids who can't even butter their own toast." Margaret's world crumbled. This was her son's wife, the woman he chose over his own mother. But the worst was yet to come. Jessica planned a dinner party for David's business partners. Important people, rich people, the kind of people who could make or break careers. "Whatever you do," Jessica hissed at Margaret, "stay in your room. Don't come out, don't make noise, pretend you don't exist." Margaret nodded, feeling smaller than she ever had in her life. The party was loud. Laughter, clinking glasses, the sound of success filling the house. Margaret sat alone in her room, listening to the life she used to have happening just down the hall. Then she heard the crash. Her wheelchair had caught the corner of a small table, sending a lamp tumbling to the floor. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot. Everything went quiet. Footsteps, angry footsteps. Jessica appeared in the doorway, her face twisted with rage. Behind her stood David's boss, Mr. Peterson, and several other guests, all staring at Margaret like she was some kind of exhibit. "I'm sorry," Margaret whispered, her hands shaking as she tried to reach for the broken pieces. "Sorry," Jessica's voice was ice cold. "Sorry doesn't fix my grandmother's lamp. Sorry doesn't erase the embarrassment." Margaret felt the eyes of strangers judging her. She wanted to disappear. "Look at you," Jessica continued, her voice getting louder. "A grown woman who can't even sit in a room without breaking something. Do you know what you are?" Margaret's heart pounded. The room was spinning. She could feel everyone staring. "You're a burden," Jessica spat. "A useless, pathetic burden who ruins everything she touches. David worked so hard to build this life, and you're just dead weight dragging us down." The words hit Margaret like physical blows. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The faces around her blurred as tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry," she whispered again, her voice barely audible. "Stop saying sorry," Jessica screamed. "Sorry won't change the fact that you're nothing but a broken old woman who should have stayed in that nursing home where she belongs." Mr. Peterson shifted uncomfortably. The other guests looked away, but Jessica wasn't done. "You want to know the truth? David doesn't want you here either. He's just too nice to say it. But I'm not. You're ruining our lives. Every day you're here is another day our happiness dies a little more." Margaret's world shattered completely. The room spun. Her chest felt tight. She couldn't catch her breath. "You're killing us," Jessica continued. "Slowly, day by day, sucking the life out of everything good in this house. You're not a mother. You're not family. You're just a burden we have to carry until you finally." "Until I finally what?" The voice came from behind the crowd. Deep, angry, familiar. Everyone turned. David stood in the doorway, still wearing his business suit, his face darker than Margaret had ever seen it. In his hands were a stack of papers. Jessica's face went white. "David, honey, I didn't know you were." "I heard every word," David said, his voice shaking with rage. "Every single word." He stepped into the room and the guests parted like water. His eyes never left Jessica's face. "Mr. Peterson, everyone, I'm sorry you had to witness this. Please leave, now." The guests couldn't get out fast enough. Even Mr. Peterson, David's powerful boss, mumbled an apology and rushed toward the door. When they were gone, David turned to Jessica. "3 months," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "3 months I trusted you to take care of my mother. 3 months I believed you when you said she was happy. 3 months I was blind to what you really are." Jessica tried to smile, tried to play innocent. "David, honey, you don't understand. I was just having a bad day." "A bad day," David's voice rose. "You called my mother a burden. You told her she should die." "I never said." "I heard it all." David slammed the papers down on the table. "I've been standing in that hallway for 10 minutes listening to you destroy the woman who raised me. The woman who worked 3 jobs to keep food on our table. The woman who sold her wedding ring to pay for my college." Jessica's mask was completely gone now. Her true face was ugly, twisted with hate. "She is a burden, David. Look at her. She's pathetic. She can't do anything right." Margaret watched her son's face change. The love she'd always seen there when he looked at his wife died right in front of her eyes. "You want to talk about burdens?" David picked up the papers. "These are divorce papers, Jessica. I filed them yesterday." Jessica's jaw dropped. "You, what?" "I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago. I had a feeling something was wrong. You want to know what I found?" He pulled out a folder from the papers. "I found receipts. Receipts for expensive dinners while my mother ate soup from a can. Receipts for spa days while my mother sat alone in her room. Receipts for shopping trips with your friends while my mother asked me why she wasn't allowed at the dinner table." Jessica's face turned red. "David, I can explain." "Explain this." He pulled out more papers. "Bank statements showing you've been stealing money from her medical fund. Money she saved her whole life for emergencies. Money you spent on jewelry and designer clothes." Margaret gasped, her life savings gone. "Or explain this." David's voice cracked with emotion. "A recording from Mrs. Chen next door. She's been watching you through her window. She recorded you telling my mother that I said she was too much work and that I couldn't wait to get rid of her." The room fell silent except for Margaret's quiet crying. "I never said those things, Mom," David whispered, kneeling beside her wheelchair. "Never. You are the most important person in my life. You always have been." Jessica realized she was trapped. Her perfect life was crumbling. "David, please, I love you. We can work this out. I'll change, I promise I'll." "Change?" David stood up, towering over her. "You want to know what's changing? You're leaving. Tonight. These papers give you 3 hours to pack whatever you can carry and get out of MY house." "Your house? This is OUR house." "Check the deed." David's smile was cold. "It's in my name only. Always has been, just like the cars, just like the bank accounts, just like everything else you thought you owned." Jessica's world was falling apart, but she wasn't done fighting. "You'll regret this, David. You'll be stuck taking care of that broken old woman forever. No one else will want you." David walked over to his wife and looked her straight in the eyes. That broken old woman taught me everything I know about love, sacrifice, and strength. She's not my burden, she's my honor." He turned to Margaret, whose tears were now tears of joy. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I let this happen. I was working so much, traveling so much, I trusted her to love you the way I do. I failed you." Margaret reached up with her good hand and touched her son's face. "You didn't fail me, sweetheart. You saved me." Jessica grabbed her purse, her face twisted with hate. "This isn't over, David. I'll take half of everything. I'll ruin you in court." David pulled out one more paper. "This is a prenup, Jessica. Remember, you signed it. It states that if you cheat, lie, or abuse any family member, you get nothing. The private investigator has 6 hours of video showing your abuse. The bank has records of your theft. You're lucky I'm not pressing criminal charges." Jessica's face went from red to white to green. She was beaten and she knew it. "I loved you," David said quietly. "I would have given you everything. All you had to do was love my mother." "Love her," Jessica spat. "She's nothing, she's weak, she's the woman who held 3 jobs to raise me when my father died. She's the woman who taught me to be strong when bullies picked on me. She's the woman who gave up dadding for 15 years so she could focus on being my parent. She's the woman who built a business from nothing and employed 20 people in our town." David's voice grew stronger with each word. "She's the woman who survived a stroke and is fighting every day to get better. She's the woman who never complained once, even when you treated her like garbage. She's more of a woman than you could ever dream of being." Jessica had nothing left to say. She grabbed a suitcase and started throwing clothes into it. "3 hours," David called after her. "Then I'm changing the locks." When Jessica was gone, David sat beside his mother's wheelchair. "Mom, I have something else to show you." He pulled out more papers from his briefcase. "What are those, honey?" "Construction plans. Plans to build you a beautiful apartment attached to this house. Your own space, but close enough that I can take care of you. It has a garden where you can grow your flowers again. It has a kitchen where you can teach me to bake like you used to." Margaret's eyes filled with tears again, but these were different tears. "David." "And this," he said, pulling out one final paper. "This is a business license. Margaret's bakery is going to reopen. We're going to modify everything so you can work from your wheelchair. You're going to teach people to bake again. You're going to be the strong, independent woman you've always been." Margaret couldn't speak. Her heart was so full it felt like it might burst. "But what about your job? What about your career?" David smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him in months. "Mom, Mr. Peterson came to offer me a promotion tonight. He's been watching how I handle pressure, how I solve problems. He said anyone who could build a successful career while caring for family was exactly the kind of person he wanted leading his company. He's not angry about tonight." "Are you kidding?" "He told me his own mother lived with him for 8 years before she passed. He said watching Jessica treat you like that made him sick. He's actually thinking about hiring you to cater company events." Margaret laughed through her tears, real laughter for the first time in months. "There's one more thing," David said softly. "I need you to know that everything Jessica said was a lie. You are not a burden, you never were, you never will be. You are my hero. You are my strength. You are the reason I became the man I am." "Oh, David." "Every morning when I wake up, I think about how lucky I am to be your son. Every success I've had is because of the values you taught me. Every good thing in my life comes from your love." Margaret reached up and hugged her son as tightly as her weak arms would allow. "I love you, sweetheart." "I love you too, Mom. And I promise no one will ever make you feel small again, not while I'm alive." 6 months later, Margaret's bakery was the most popular spot in town. Margaret worked from a custom wheelchair-accessible kitchen, teaching baking classes to dozens of students. Her laughter filled the space every day. David visited every morning for coffee and her famous cinnamon rolls. Sometimes he brought Mr. Peterson, who had become like a father to him. Sometimes he brought dates, women who loved hearing stories about his amazing mother. Jessica, she moved 3 states away and worked at a call center for minimum wage. Sometimes she would drive by the bakery and see Margaret through the window, surrounded by people who loved her, living her best life. Margaret never looked back. She had learned the most important lesson of all. She was not a burden. She was a blessing. And finally, everyone could see it.